it's it's fantastic. I really feel like ETC there is some value on being on the inside, and I just didn't get the tickets in time. But no, it'll be nice. I just got a new apartment, so I'm excited to hunker down and get familiar here in New York.
All right, so do some interior decoration.
Yeah, in the meantime.
So shall we kick this off?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, hello everybody. Welcome to my garden that's being recorded today because we have no stream because our streamer is probably asleep because it's really early where he lives right now. It's the first time that this happened, and we all miss you, Vanilla. When you see this recording, feel a big hug. I hope you had fun last night. And today we have Alex. Alex is official name of his position is DAO Grove, which is a cool position to have, I guess. So Alex is yet another DAOist, and he's working with the Ocean Protocol. And I read a little bit about his DAO and learned me some. And I'm going to jump in there and ask him all the questions as I usually do. But first, we want to hear some announcements from Deacon about what's happening in the DAO House ecosystem after our Discord reboot and all the new boosts and adventures that Moloch DAOs can do now. What's up on your side, Deacon?
Yeah, I'll just keep it short because last time I got the hook pulled off the stage, but so I won't chill so much. Anyways, yeah, I mean, Discord is fun. We're getting like people leveling up through our levels. We kind of broke it into tracks. We're doing some more engaging things. We're actually holding a lotto right now for Haus tokens. I'll post it over in the chat, or someone can post it there. This one was a little different. We asked the whales to put in some Haus. So the whales are funding the lotto, and then everyone else can play. It's a pull together, so it's
for having given zero Haus to the lotto. I was busy.
Well, then you can still do it if you want, and you can also just play. I mean, it's pulled together, so it's kind of a whales game, but at the same time, everyone gets a shot, even if it's a small one. Yeah, we're just working on the level 2 supporters are now able to participate in Token Log, which is a cool off-chain voting signaling mechanism for kind of roadmap strategy development decisions going forward. And it uses quadratic voting, so it's pretty cool that everyone has a voice that way. Even if you have just a couple Haus, you could come and stake it on some of our initiatives. Yeah, so that's basically it. LP DAO coming up. It's going to be epic. So keep an eye out for that.
Those are so many developments that we might want to do an episode on DAO House itself soon. Just note to self.
Yeah, maybe the season 2 closer or something. I don't know.
Maybe a live house party at the Haus.
Yeah. That's the one last thing I wanted to mention. In September, one more thing. In September, the Metacartel family is having a meetup, a non-con kind of.
When is it?
In September in Denver, and then
September, Denver dates.
September 23rd, I think, and then that weekend is the Wyoming hackathon, and so we can just hang out, do some working sessions, all the different teams inside the Metacartel family, do some group things, taco parties, I don't know, and then go up to Wyoming and invade their kind of Bitcoin maxi world.
All right, so if you're down to come to Denver, have some fun with the most legalized legal state in the universe, and then get beat up at a Bitcoin conference, come with the Metacartel. Val, I'll be rocking up at your house on the 15th of September, the same event. September 20th edition in runs out. It's a pretty perfect of places to stay on the 14th, so I'm just trying to find a bridge lodging. Alex, finally, we're ready to listen to you. We apologize. We always sort of embarrass our guests by talking about ourselves in the beginning of the episode. It's become quite a tradition by now. But Alex, so before I ask any questions, how do you want to represent this beautiful development that is OceanDAO, and tell us about all their funding rounds and how it has happened so far?
Yeah, for those unfamiliar as well, I'll tap in on what is Ocean Protocol too. So this is great, and thanks so much for having me. So, so at a high level, Ocean Protocol is the vision is we are onboarding the future of the Web3 data economy. Data is now an asset class, and how do you recognize this valuable data and actually start to monetize it? So you can think of Ocean Protocol as a two-sided marketplace, a la an Airbnb, but instead of houses on Airbnb, it's data sets, and people can buy and sell these data sets peer-to-peer with no intermediary via the protocol. And so we have a client of the protocol called Ocean Marketplace, and there are a few other marketplaces that have been built on Ocean Protocol. So we're envisioning in the future, hundreds, if not thousands, of these marketplaces building on Ocean Protocol. But yeah, our marketplace has numerous data sets on the supply side and people coming to consume data. So you can think of, an example is Amazon e-commerce seller data, or data sets of the marketplace itself, or consumer preference data, or road imaging data, map data, just any arbitrary data you can post on it. So if you're trying to train a data set or train your machine learning algorithm for any data practitioner, you can come and buy that. And it's kind of cool, the Ocean Smart Contracts is what enables this buying and selling of data. So the data actually doesn't go on chain. What you're selling is because data storage on chain is it's exceptionally expensive. So it's actually just the URL gets encrypted, and you store it on S3 or Filecoin or Arweave or any other where you want to store that data set. And then you encrypt the URL, and then that access token that you buy for that data set with the Ocean token, you get this access token, and that gives you the right to.
It's almost like an NFT in a sense, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of our future, ideas in the roadmap is to actually turn that into an NFT. So the jury's still out for that, but it's something we are really heavily thinking about. And then the second thing, besides access, that the Ocean Marketplace allows you to do is actually, the pricing of data. So this isn't like the shadow data economy with, shadow brokers, with big data selling your information. You can actually set fixed price, or you can actually put that data set in an AMM. So we use balancer proxy contracts, and you can actually live price the data based off of, supply and demand. And then if I do buy that data set, I can then provide liquidity. So that's like a high level snapshot of the Ocean Marketplace, and then I can touch on the DAO.
Yeah, and so a quick thing on the marketplace. So building a marketplace is hard, and I think the hardest part, right, is like getting both sides of the market. So what are you guys like doing to reach out to people, or to find the people that want to supply the data and the people that want to buy the data, and like how does that come around?
Fantastic question. Yeah, so this is a tried and true. How do you bootstrap a two-sided marketplace? And so reaching out to through business development and sales efforts on the supply side, reaching out to data, incumbent data companies that do have a large swath of of data, and potentially like entrenched enterprise companies that spreading that piece of information, like, hey, this can be a piece of data. We've partnered with Swash is one of our partners that has a data set, and a handful of others to date. So just traditional business development, and then those data practitioners, so spreading the word in the more general marketing, organic marketing sense of the term, whether that's on socials and just those in crypto trying to bootstrap the supply side, and then on the demand side, reaching out to companies. It's like, do we have these types of data sets on our marketplace? Are these valuable? One of the projects inside of OceanDAO that's received funding is actually taking on this endeavor of what data sets are valuable for companies, and making sure we can find someone to be able to supply that for them. It's a hard chicken and egg to crack.
It seems like curation is a key component there. Once you have just like so much data, I guess this is probably a problem with any kind of big data kind of things. Like how do they get around the fact that once someone owns the data, they could just resell it or make it public, or does that matter? I don't know.
So this is all about IP rights and IP ownership. So you can only sell the data that you have the intellectual property rights to on our Ocean Marketplace client. And if there is any nefarious activity, and we also try to design for trust, so reputation integration with it, so 3POCs or otherwise. And if there is a flag or call for arbitration, we have this thing in our GitHub called Ocean Purgatory, so we can actually go on the front end of our client and take down anything and put it in purgatory if it is a bad actor.
Interesting.
Purgatory like that.
Cool. Sorry, I inject questions every once in a while just because I don't want to forget, but I hope I didn't derail you.
Go for it. Fantastic.
Well, how about so I think you're about to get into like the Ocean DAO actually, which is your grant giving platform, right?
Absolutely. So we have our Ocean protocol, and then we have our Ocean DAO, which sits hand in hand with the protocol. So Ocean DAO is a grants DAO. It's a protocol. It's a public protocol grants DAO. So as opposed to some other DAOs, you just hold their native token, whether that's Uniswap or Synthetics or Compound. You can actually do governance votes. Should we introduce Aave as collateral on Compound, and you can come and like vote governance. So we don't do any governance voting on OceanDAO. It's strictly grants DAO. So people come with proposals, and they submit them, and then with your Ocean token, you can vote on which proposals you're most excited about to receive a grant, and then kind of in essence, in like this descending order of how much hot money is available for that round. Those who receive the highest amount of votes, get that grant until there's no grant funds left. So how this works in practice is, we have, so OceanDAO runs monthly. Proposals are due on the first Tuesday of every month. We look to increase that total bursary amount round over round. So last round, round 6, which just was for June. We gave out $220,000 worth of grants, and then round 7 coming up. Round 8 coming up. Round 7 was last round, so round 8 coming up with proposals due on August 3rd, the first Tuesday, August 3rd. We're giving out $275,000 worth of grants, and these proposals that come in are for building apps or integrations on Ocean, unleashing data. So what that means is someone has a cool data set that it's really hard to get access to. So I'm going to get a grant and try to unlock that data and get it on the marketplace. Community or developer outreach, spreading the doctrine of Ocean, so to speak. Improving Ocean core software documentation. We have someone who's got a grant for going in and rewriting some of our technical docs, and then improvements to the DAO itself proposal. So we have someone who's making a project right now for actually improving the proposal submission process. So these are the types of flavors of proposals. And then a little longer-winded answer, but the reason why do we do this is also kind of interesting. So this idea is, hey, we have Ocean Protocol and we have OceanDAO. So if we have a proposal that comes in that proposal, they break down and they talk about how their proposal can give a positive ROI back to the Ocean ecosystem. So if that project can really articulate and show, if round over round, that they have a positive ROI, you can justify giving a $15,000 grant, because the value they create is, say, $50,000 worth of value. And so that in excess value can then go back to the OceanDAO pot and fund more positive ROI projects. And it creates this kind of self-sustainability loop for positive ROI projects, and thus how we grow the Ocean protocol itself.
Yeah, grants are an interesting thing. And you're in Metacartel too, which is a grant-giving DAO, but totally different, not looking at ROI, but maybe a different set of KPI. It's like community growth and DAO expansion, I guess, the DAO verse. But, I think about some of the things with grant DAOs, like how do you follow through with a proposal, making sure they meet milestones, or that they're actually doing what they said they would do. Do you have, how do you guys handle that?
This is the proverbial blue ocean, so to speak, for DAOs. And this is a really key question that we're asking ourselves, and a mechanism. We need to design this mechanism that does capture this. So it's a user experience. It's actually a user experience problem, which is what we found, where I submit a proposal. It has all my milestones and all the things I want to accomplish, and how much it's going to cost me, my team, and who's doing what. And then, okay, I've selected to receive a grant. So how do I update if it's 2 months later in a forum, in a discourse forum post that, oh, hey, everyone, come look here to see our traction, but that was from round 4 and we're on round 8 now, and we're resubmitting and pointing people back. So, and then if you have another proposal, so let's just say you submitted a proposal in round 4 and you're coming back for more money to continually fund in round 8, it's like, well, we're not going to want to fund you if you didn't hit your old milestones. So how do you have transparency in on that? So these proposal, are you actually shipping the things you're trying to do? So what we have built is we do have some proprietary dashboards in Airtable. So a proposal comes in, they're able to self-report on discourse rather, the forum, what they've completed, and then the DAO team, the core DAO team goes in and updates, this dashboard that they hit their milestones. So if they do come and submit for another grant, they can, the voters can see if, they are a legitimate team, they're shipping, okay, let's fund them again. But it's a really tricky problem to solve in the DAO world.
Yeah. So there's a lot of DAOs in our platform are like grant giving DAOs, like Metacartel and Moloch DAO being the biggest, or some of the biggest ones, and some of the first. One of the things we've been talking about is like kind of this grant funnel, I guess, because there's different proposals, and so someone might make a proposal to Meta Gamma Delta and then Meta Gamma Delta is like, well, this isn't really right for us, but maybe it's exactly right for Moloch DAO. So like, I don't know, like the bigger world of DAOs, being able to like find the right fit for people is an interesting topic, I think. But I don't know where I'm going with that.
I really like that premise though, because as DAOs become this is just DAOs in essence are just a way for and just a way of coordination. And as people are more keen to join this new flavor of coordination, getting onboarded and get in where you fit in, and I'm interested in this, that, and the third, but it's not a good fit for that one DAO, and so this kind of funneling process into where can I just start? How do I get involved in the DAO? And then the answer is, you just start contributing. That's easier said than done. Trying to find your fit where you can resonate with. So I totally hear that on like the funneling spot. And if you are trying to look for positive ROI projects, you do need you can't just have one or two proposals. You actually need a volume of proposals. You need this top of the funnel growth. As Philippe was alluding to, like, I'm focused on growth, and like, how do we get more and more proposals in? Because that actually, in essence, can drive higher positive ROI projects, just because we'll have more of them and more competition.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to interrupt Deacon because he's on fire. But some of the things I was thinking about in the social process that develops when you open a grant process that is supposed to be sustained over a set amount of time with a set amount of money, you can have actually the initial excitement wane, and you see the clustering information of teams that are just like settling into that funding schedule. Or you can also see actually a widening of the range, a increased creativity in the proposal types. You can start to see the activation of collective intelligence that creates opportunities and takes the protocol interactions that were not expected. So since you already have, you're going into the 8th month of play in this DAO, I wanted kind of to know what are the trends that you're seeing, how do you monitor them, and most interestingly, what is your interference or intervention style? Is it mimetic? Is it like is there a cybernetic component as somebody who's in charge of DAO growth, or do you feel like that's the most ungrateful position that a human can hold? Just kind of trying to eke out some of the day-to-day feelings of having that responsibility.
It has been there's a few things in that question where at first it was
I do apologize. It wasn't a question. It was more like a Gatling gun.
I like it, and it's a great question. So at first it was all about this inception of this DAO was going in the Peter Thielism, going 0 to 1 and like incepting it. So just getting something out there that was competent and actually had voting. So leveraging the Ocean votes. But then as each round progressed, you're in the trenches and you listen to community feedback, and start on the first domino presses for this, the holy grail of progressive decentralization. But it's still pretty close to myself and we have another Ocean Core engineer now, Roberto, and we have a kind of a project pipeline, and what are these features we're trying to ship. And on that note, if we are trying to ship features, we have to be cognizant, how does each feature change the mechanisms? And then if there's more mechanisms, then the governance area expands. And if the governance surface area is expanding, it's more places for politics and debate and divisiveness. So it's like feature, mechanism, politics. And so what are these core features that are really, really absolutely necessary, that need to be implemented, and really just focusing on that value proposition of positive ROI projects, and how do we most effectively get that, and not really focusing on things that don't hit that, because if we are focusing on those more nebulous things, that just bloats the political surface area for more contentiousness. So I always say on one of these other bullets in your Gatling gun question was I am a bad DAO summoner growth. Like I'm a bad DAO leader if I'm a leader, right? Like it's an oxymoron of a title almost, and it's so
all of the best leaders are hands off, in my opinion. Like, don't command you to do things. I also wanted to make a comment, because when you said I'm a bad DAO, I just thought Billie Eilish, I'm a bad guy. And I was like, it was too good.
Oh, we have to make a version of this.
Absolutely. And so trying to be as hands off as possible, because at the end of the day, it is Ocean. I have as much voice.
You can't Ocean. Sorry.
No, yeah, but there is a way. There is a way to or I actually don't know if there is a way, but we intervene every time we open it. Like just having this conversation is an intervention in the social process. I would expect that there's a component of your community that looks up to you, or at least looks at you, up or not, because there is a principal problem somewhere in that discussion. I mean, this is the most laid back, but at the same time most excruciating podcast to come to, because we actually really live the shit.
Yeah, we breathe this. Yeah. You're talking this feature, mechanism, politics. I'm like, my mind is expanding, and really cool. I also think like a mechanism that could possibly help like keep those positive ROI projects coming through the grants funnel is basically having people attest or vote on like those different grants projects, right? So like someone who will like stake on that project, or if that project will stake for itself to receive a grant, that might be an interesting way to allow them to provide their own signaling about like their passion or desire to work on an issue.
Yeah, but there's also a pretty fat opportunity for a self-enforcing loop of Goodhart's law mechanics to take hold, and also how do you know, as a project or as a manager, how do I understand that my positive ROI was due to the project itself or some chance event? What are the the mechanics to measure this ROI? Is it just token price? And then the other thing that happens is, isn't the ROI supposed ideally, on an ideal scenario, the result of the collection of efforts rather than each project? So sometimes I wouldn't, in my imaginative mind that spends 24 hours a day thinking about social processes, I would imagine that certain projects and teams that are getting funded, they're like, as in DAO House, we have rangers, magesmiths, and we have all these nerd names, D&D nerd names for all our functions. These projects, ideally, they would be self-dependent. They need to be, like, some initiatives need to be co-funded. And so how are we dealing with, like, parallel work? Or that sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm a defender of different teams with different mindsets trying the same thing. So don't interpret this question as criticism, but I'm just trying to eke out, like, how does whatever is considered a core unit in this DAO see these things in terms of the building of a philosophy and culture and like epistemology of the work of the DAO? I don't know. I have so many questions, actually, because I read up on the mechanics, and there's such a deck of cards in terms of emergence, and certain things are nailed down. The amount of money given, the time frames. So it feels like there's an inevitable amount of, there's a rhythmic function to this DAO that should cause some, that does help the process move along, but it also probably causes a lot of friction with the natural direction that the crowd creativity wants to go. And that's kind of like, I wish we had like a weekend at the beach that I could ask these things not in public, because I know they're uncomfortable questions. So I do say them with as much empathy as I can. But here we are, so I need to ask them.
Totally. Again, like a couple of things. So the first, when it comes to coordination and like the feature and the roadmap, definitely, like, it comes back to the OceanDAO core team, and like we are the implementers, and that does carry a lot of responsibility, and those things that are getting implemented are very consciously, based off of thinking, conversations and feedback with the users, and like trying to minimize political surface area and like increase the voter turnout. So totally, that those core decisions are, at the end of the day, do end up back with the Ocean core team. And then continuing on with the structure, how structure versus creativity, and emergent behavior versus sticking to the rails and the script of what is written, and the and what drives the positive ROI project. So you mentioned how do you assess like the positive ROI nature? So we do have some fundamental metrics that are key to the Ocean protocol itself. So if we just say positive ROI nebulously, that could, what is a positive ROI in relation to? So what are those mechanisms within your protocol that positive ROI can correlate to? So in Ocean, we have a metric called data consumed volume. So that's actually just like the buy and sells of how much data is being consumed. Total value locked. You can actually stake, as I mentioned, you can stake on, if you're going to do launch a data set that does market pricing, you can stake on as an LP in that AMM of that data. So total value locked. Are you increasing that? Are you launching are you launching more data sets on the supply side? So these are positive ROI fundamental metrics, so to speak, that are, one can, based off the protocol, can relate to, your DAO proposal. And then emergent behaviors. So this is where the process and structure is great. because it gives projects a predictable and reliable source of funding. So hey, we actually had some people quit their jobs and like focus on this full time, but this is while you're getting a grant money, at the end of the day, like how long are you going to be on grant funding until you can actually like start seeing some own generating your own revenue, whether that's through data selling on the marketplaces or whatever. So this predictable stream, and then funding, and then the rules by which you come and update your project, so you get in a little rhythm there. And then this is where the listening from the coordination side really is important, because if there is contention and there is things that do need to be addressed in the mechanics, then you can adapt accordingly. Like none of this is absolute. Like these are human organizations at the end of the day, and like we can update. So at first, when we started, we didn't have funding towards DAO improvement proposals for the DAO itself. So someone wanted to come make an improvement for the DAO, and we were like, oh, that's actually like, yeah, that makes sense. So hey, that's a new category we can fund. So we are open to things that do shift the mechanisms. However, you do have to be cognizant. Are you just being reactive? Hey, there was some politics in your DAO, and now you're gonna, just because one person got mad, some bad actor, or just someone got rubbed shoulders the wrong way, and you're gonna change your entire DAO structure because one person well, so the answer is no. There's going to be politics. However, is this reactionary, or this is being in the present moment, understanding the problem, understanding the solution, and the solution isn't being met? Okay, then adjust. Like those are two different things. So hopefully that each one of those questions was answered through that.
Yeah. Before I get them again, Deacon and Vin, do you guys have any questions you want to bring to the fore?
Well, not really a question, but yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good point. I think we do get super reactionary when a certain thing does happen, no matter what it is. And yeah, for me, I kind of like, well, that thing happened, but how likely is it to happen again and in the near term, kind of things. And let's just keep talking about it. Don't just like react too quickly, but yeah, let's analyze what did happen and its probability of happening again, and what effect does that have on our community, and so on and so forth. And it's just a nice power of the DAO, I think, because you're, like you said, it's not just like there's one person who has to make that decision. Everybody gets to make that together, so there's a high probability that the right solution will emerge from that.
You also get a place where, I mean, sometimes being reactionary is good, or acting fast is good. And so injecting governance and politics into things slows things way down. Usually that's good, but sometimes it's like you just need to do it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that's just more of an issue with the flat organization, is like how, what is the leader, or what is what can kickstart someone into or an organization to a fast reaction?
I have an answer for that. And sometimes I say things just for Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing? Jonathan, he takes notes of the episodes and he adds them. And someday we're gonna have a cool playbook come out of this. And I think one of the things that might help, especially when you do have a principal, be it a person or a group, is the quality of the listening spaces that are held, and the seriousness that the information that comes out of those listening spaces is taken followed up on and taken for and then really listened. So yeah, I definitely second that. Of course, you have one disgruntled person makes a lot more noise than 60 satisfied.
Right.
So if you react immediately to the pain of like it, we're all 9-year-old children who sometimes stub our toe inside. Like I have this problem. You know, when I think I'm gonna have something and it gets taken away from me, I react bad. It's the one part of my self development that I still failed wildly at fixing. I have several stories. I'm not gonna bore you with them. And I always like come back and apologize after I have my little tantrum. And we all do this, right? So I think both reactions are unproductive. One, to try to change everything because somebody stubbed their toe on something, and the other one is to shame them into silence. Is also not productive. So my suggestion would be like, what is the quality and procedure of listening in that culture, in that economy, in that organization? We're running out of words to explain what kind of thing is born in a functioning DAO. It's like community, economy, organization, culture. These four things need to come and make love and birth a new concept. So yeah, that's my answer to this sort of segment that we're in. And I wanted to introduce, if we feel satisfied with this like wrap, which we're allowed not to. But I felt like asking you in a more historical notice of cycles or 7 as the 8 starting now. Were there notable proposals or things that happened, like anecdotes that you would want to tell us, just to take the pressure off, because we've come at every detail kind of aggressively, and so like maybe just tell us a couple of stories of like how your life changed since you guys launched that DAO. Did you hold a specific position before the DAO in Ocean? How did that transform like the story and the life of the organization? Just to have a more open question in there. Be a little bit softer, but also because I'm curious. Actually, I'm just serving myself all the time. I apologize. I will go back to my orange one.
In 2020, in the start of 2020, got interested in DAOs and joined up with Metacartel grants, and then was hopping on the calls every week and in chat, and then from Metacartel grants joined Metacartel Ventures, and same sort of vibe, hopping on Discord and joining the town community calls every week and just being a active contributor. And then the two co-founders of Ocean Protocol were in Metacartel Ventures, and in our 5-minute temperature check at the start of every week's recap, they were just like, you're supposed to say what's on your mind, and I was just like, looking for a new situation right now, and they just pinged me instantly, and we had a couple conversations, and already involved in DAOs and just the more general background in crypto already, and then it was just a good fit, so it was brought on to summon the DAO, and that was in Q4 of last year, and then through each round, it's been just really rewarding to see the community grow round over round, and now actually having some of the people who had submitted proposals in say the first or second round, and actually starting to see some of their projects actually ship. And I alluded to this earlier in this call of just like just a handful of people. I think we're at maybe up to double digits now. And I don't say that as like a hyperbole. I actually think we might be there of people who have like left their jobs to like go focus full time on like building their projects inside of OceanDAO, and that's been like.
So you've converted more than 20 DAOists.
Like 10, like at least 10 people like that.
Awesome.
That have quit their, and we were joking in our town halls. So we do these weekly town halls and talk about like really getting a pulse and listening to and having that taking that feedback and going to be with that feedback in these town halls. And we were joking a funny metric could be number of jobs quit for a DAO. Like It was just like,
That's
oh,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's a perfect metric for DAOs. And the other metric I think is number of returning proposers, right? So the number of people that made 2, 3, 4, 5 proposals. I think this should be a metric, especially for DAO platforms. And I'm just throwing this one at Deacon. But I think Molochs are it doesn't really count that much because it's mostly like social, and then somebody just sends, and that's it. But in my previous life in DAOstack, I proposed this metric so many times, and nobody heard me. But like the number of people that make like proposals over and over, that's really the number that's changing the world, and that's kind of equatable to the job quitters metric, right?
totally. And this is why, having, you were talking earlier about having transparency into previous proposals, and are they shipping, and how do you actually solve that user experience problem? Just getting transparency into ROI. So if they are shipping and delivering with their proposals, so if they are coming back round over round, how do we know they're not abusing that, or if they're just showing up? And this is why, having that, solving that user experience problem, and 2, increasing voter turnout is so important, because if you have more and more voters, then you can actually just have this more liquid democracy of like, oh, the voters are the due diligence process. It's not just in the power of the few. It's like everyone's got eyeballs on this, and they're actually able to yes vote or no vote. These people that are returning. So if they are returning and they haven't hit, we have a high number of voter turnout, then they're able to be the authority on, hey, should they get that money or not?
That's where like contention is actually a useful component of the DAO life. Like I remember in the beginning of all of these journeys in this first DAO where I didn't have a job to quit, but I did pay all my bills with like being a DAOist, right, in 2018. And I was bringing all these new people, highly intelligent and people that work already in the field with many things, with decentralization, with activism. And they're like, wow, but this DAO thing, it's so political. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you surprised? Like DAOs are politics. That's the whole point. And contention, which is also another word for not everybody's getting the grant, right? There's more grant askers than grant receivers, is a great thing to have because it will drive up the quality of the grants. How's that happening with you guys?
First 4 rounds, we actually we decided to not build a lot of proprietary tooling to start with. We were just using off-the-shelf things. So we tried out with Aragon, we tried out with Snapshot, so we ended up going with Snapshot. And at first, we were kind of subject to the flexibility of what Snapshot had implemented. So we actually put, at first 4 rounds, we put all our proposals on one ballot, on one vote. So you could just, you come in with your Ocean token, you're only able to signal one of 10 what you want. And we realized, it's not so much to just signal what you want, because that is only a plus for the good ones. How do you actually, if there's bad things, you can't just let that fly. You actually have to be against it too. Like if there's, then you get complacent if you're not saying no to or being anti to bad things. Like, so we set for round 5 and moving forward, we actually separated. So each proposal is its own ballot, and you're able to yes or no vote in this binary option. So, to answer your question, contention and all these things. So how did that play out? So we introduced no voting in in proposal, and it's just if it's one whale that comes in and no votes someone down, or it's actually a bad not a positive ROI project, and it's a justified no vote. How do you give, if you give a no, how do you give a qualified no, and just not being an anon coming in and just saying no to everything for shits and giggles, but actually coming back once you vote no to the forum and saying, hey, this is why I did vote no. One of my dream features for Snapshot is if it's a binary yes no, if you hit no, something might pop up and you could actually provide feedback anonymously or not of like why you're saying no. Like that would be a dream feature. But yeah, so contentiousness and like it is, people who are falling on the DAO, and it is kind of a bummer, when they don't get funding and they've really worked hard on it, but it's just like it just contributes more and more to the anti-fragility of the DAO, of just like if you really do focus on the positive ROI projects.
So you guys have started with the Grant DAO, kind of dipping your toes in the water. Do you think that your protocol will eventually become a DAO itself, or other aspects of your organization will DAO up?
We actually have a little bit of a contrarian take on this that I've noticed in protocol space. So our view is, so we're just a grants DAO. We're not a protocol or protocol upgrade or governance upgrade DAO. And the reason is, hey, this is all public and open source. So if you want to make a protocol upgrade or a protocol change, we don't need to do that in the DAO. Just go fork it and do it yourself. That's kind of our take on that. And then the other aspect of that, what other, like how, so eventually all Ocean employees, Ocean Protocol Foundation employees, or there's a big chain DB as well, they might eventually get paid by the DAO. So all employees or what have you would actually come and submit proposals and things like this. That could be an interesting future of everyone getting paid by the DAO.
You say that's money, but it's a fucking pain in the ass, and I just want to let you know. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's a pain in the ass, and we actually had it like the last episode was with MakerDAO, and that. Also, Lenka will be speaking in the Taoist in Paris, which there will be a recording, hopefully. I'm trying. And then you guys can... I think it's important. We talk about in the Rangers and in DAO House, we talk about the phenomenon of herd knowledge, right? Which, like, there's so many things about DeFi, for example, that now are common knowledge. We just talk about it like it's nothing. But during like DeFi summer, I remember personally me then and Deacon in a call saying like, we don't understand this shit. So, and right now everybody does. We need to do the same for DAOs. We need to do the same for DAOplomacy and talent mining and just living this sort of edge life that it has its drawbacks, but has a major we don't say draw forth in English, right? We don't have fortile. We don't have this word, but it has a major advantage, which is like freedom, right? And upside. Yeah. Sorry. I'm not a native speaker of any language anymore. But so I was just making this little rant about that we need to tell a coherent story of a future where it's worth pushing yourself towards understanding that you don't have to fit a mode. You actually have to shape yourself. And
this is something, there's the DAO. Hey, is the DAO funding other projects? I remember at one point we spoke with some other DAO tooling, whether that be like Coordinate, and we were like, does it make sense for them to like come and submit a proposal and for OceanDAO, and maybe we like think about using that internally, or well, that's DAO tooling. It's not an actual other DAO. So I would say the jury's still out. We're open to it, and just like when that specific, with those stars align, like super down to do it D to D, play. And then when it comes to the marketplace, hey, this is supply side wise, any arbitrary data can be posted. Whether that's an angle for more product market fit, and like, hey, we see a lot of people who want to consume DAO centric information, then hey, let's bootstrap that a lot more on the supply side.
We're gonna be reaching out to you, talking about that, Alex, for sure. It's the cutest shit that's happening right now because I'm hosting a podcast, but the house I'm in has just been invaded by 2 stray cats, and they're smelling everything, and I'm just hoping they don't piss on me. This is the end of our podcast, the last minute. Do you want to have any final considerations, Deacon?
No, yeah, thanks for coming, Alex. Super dope to hear
Alex.
the announce.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is like the markets, the supply side market as a DAO, I think, interesting idea. But that could be saved for another time.
This has been great. And one last like magic wand, I wish, you know, a lot of people have these tokens right now and they hold them, you know, whether for speculation or utility. What they don't realize is, you know, they have this magical superpower now that is the governance. And so you were talking about like, how do you, these non-obvious things about education and onboarding and, you know, what the heck is everyone talking about with DeFi summer, but now it's DAO and like learning about all this stuff. It's just like, you know, how do we learn that, you know, this token you have does have a superpower that is governance. And like, you know, I think that's an ambitious, you know, endeavor to go pursue.
Yeah, +1, good point.
Well, personally, I'm really happy to know more about your DAO. Keep tabs every now and then. And let's keep chatting. Nice to meet you, Alex.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much for having me, and yeah, super big fan of DAO Haus. So this is great.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Alex.
And thanks everybody else for watching. Make fun of Vanilladelphia when you can, and see you all.
Peace out.
Cheers, y'all.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
Thank you all. Bye.
What's up?